Hello, and I hope you're having a good day. My name is Paul Bunyan, and you know what? I am tired of all this talk, all this roleplay. I didn't build my character to learn the lore. I made a character to turn monsters into spam Nolan a can. What? You think I made a fire because I wanted to talk? That's right. Today is all about the fighter. I'm going to tell you all about the fighter, their typical roles, and all of their subclasses. You might say, bleh, fighters are boring, they don't get any of that magic. Malarkey, I say. Balderdash. Fighters may not have gone to wizard school, but they can still kick your Hufflepuff ass 6 ways from Sunday. And with my help, you will be a true master of stabbing things until they're dead. Caster-type classes will slowly but surely burn through their spell slots, till they have no more magic left in them. But the fighter wakes up, drinks a glass of raw eggs, and then kicks ass from sunup to sundown, with all of the basic class abilities helping you stay in the fight until everything is dead or you are dead. However, unlike a barbarian, the fighter cannot hulk out and smash whatever is in their way. The fighter prefers to work smarter, not harder. Your abilities in combat will be largely defined by your choice of weapon. Need more protection? Pick up a shield. Need to deal more damage than just one sword? How about 2 swords? Or 1 big sword? Need to deal with an enemy at a range? Get yourself a crossbow and teach the ranger the true meaning of archery. With your proficiency in all weapons and armor, you will always be properly equipped. Remember to change up your weapons and armor when the situation calls for it, though. Now, the most enticing thing about the fighter is that they get the most ability score increases of any other class. Most classes only get 5 ability score increases. Rogues get 6, but fighters get 7, meaning they can easily max out all their base stats. Or, you can get a ton of feats, making min-maxers minus the min. Your abilities lend themselves to this as well. All fighters get an ability called Second Wind, which heals you for 1d10 plus your fighter level, so you can tell the enemies that they'll have to hit harder than that if they want to beat you. You also choose a fighting style, which increases your effectiveness with certain weapons. Duelist, dual wielding, great weapon fighting, archery, shielding. It's your first means to experiment with the kind of fighter you want to be. But the cream of the longsword for the fighter, it comes at 2nd level. Action Surge. This ability gives you a second turn. Seriously, it refills your used actions and bonus actions and your reactions. It does not refill your expended movement speed, but who cares? Second turns! The greatest thing ever in all turn-based combat games. And onto this, you get the largest amount of extra attacks per action as you gain levels. Finally, you can re-roll your saving throws up to 3 times between long rests at higher levels. With all this put together, the fighter may be down, but they will never be out. Now, onto the subclasses, hitherto called martial archetypes. Hey, I heard you like fighter, so I put extra fighter in your fighter. The champion is your fighter squared. You get improved critical hit chances, a second fighting style, increased physical prowess and saves, and auto-healing every turn whenever you're about to die. Nothing special to say here, it's just a perfectly good subclass. But if you want something more spicy, try out the Battle Master. This guy has read The Art of War every night before going to bed and has forgotten more about fighting than you'll ever know. The Battle Master gets combat superiority dice. These are a handful of d8s that get bigger with each level and refill on a short rest. They let the Battle Master do everything, from pushing people around to weakening people to shouting boo really loud and scaring the enemy away. Soon, you'll start to regenerate maneuverability dice, and then you're gonna have a good time and make the enemy feel so attacked right now. At 7th level, you get Study Your Enemy, which lets you take a moment to observe your opponent and identify something about them. It lets you know if their physical abilities are stronger, weaker, or equal to your own, and it makes me feel like the Witcher, learning the enemy's moves and knowing just the right time to dodge, parry, and counter. The Battle Master is a crowd control subclass, perfect for those who want to control the flow of combat. If you want your fighter to be extra flashy, then dump some magic on him. The Eldritch Knight is a spell sword style subclass, accenting your martial abilities with magical flaming flare. You get any abjuration or evocation spells from the wizard's spell list. You magically bond with 2 weapons of your choice, letting you summon them from out of nowhere, and they cannot be disarmed. Notice I said weapon and not melee weapon. Bond with as many crossbows or throwing knives as you'd like. As you gain levels, you can attack with your weapon right after you cast a cantrip, so stab that guy and shoot a firebolt right in his face for good measure. You can attack someone and give them disadvantage on your next spell save, and you can teleport when you use your action surge, and eventually, you get a bonus attack for any spell of any level. The Eldritch Knight is great for anyone who wants to feel like they have the power. Remember when I mentioned fighters and bows? Well, the Arcane Archer takes that train of thought to its final destination. You get trick arrows associated with schools of magic to give your archery that extra oomph. Evocation lets you blow things up. Conjuration arrows summon sharp vines to grab people, or you can use transmutation arrows to punch through any kind of armor. Eventually, your arrows become all magic all the time, and you will soon have an arrow at the ready in the blink of an eye. This is my favorite fighter subclass. I love to add the guiding shot to my arrows and then have the wizard cast delayed fireball on them, effectively turning my arrows into heat-seeking missiles. From bowmen to heavy artillery, that's the Arcane Archer. But for those of you that won't stop bothering the DM about getting a special mount all to yourself, try out the Cavalier. The Cavalier is the master of horseback combat. You get proficiency in either animal handling, insight, history, or persuasion. Gee, I wonder which one you'll get. You get buffs on or off your mount. People who attack your mount will get debuffs for hurting your pony. You protect your precious horse at all costs by taking hits for it. And you get so many opportunity attacks it's not even funny. It's important to remember that your mount is another tool in your fighter toolbox. Just like your weapon kit, don't be afraid to swap out your mounts when the situation calls for it. A horse might be sweet, but it won't do much good in an underground cave. Trade it in for something that can climb, like a giant lizard. All in all, the Cavalier will ride to glory no matter what. Just be prepared to spend a lot of gold on all that annual upkeep cost. Now, if you picked the fighter, is it safe to say that you dedicated your life to the way of the sword? While other party members were role-playing and buying potions, did you study the blade? Then the Samurai is for you. Right off the bat, at level 3, you get 5 temp HP and advantage on all your attack rolls for your current turn. And this can be used up to 3 times per long rest. Now, add that to your 4 extra attacks at higher levels. Now add that to your action surge. Now laugh as you realize that the likelihood of you missing any more of your attacks is next to nothing. Later, you will always have at least one use of this same ability, and you can trade the advantage for just attacking again. You also get proficiency in wisdom saves and persuasion checks, and finally, if you have been reduced to 0 hit points, you will get one final turn before going unconscious, giving you your anime moment of cutting the other guy down before you fall. I must remind you that all of these abilities apply to all weapons, not just swords, which is great, and I cannot find a single thing to dislike about the Samurai. Aside from all the weeb jokes, but if you pick this class, you're already used to that. The Samurai is for anyone who would honestly rather be playing Sekiro. Do you wish D&D let you play as a giant instead of just trying to talk to them or having them step on you all the time? Then you need to try out the Rune Knight. Rune Knights are fighters that learn to write magical giant runes, not to be confused with dwarf runes, into their equipment, giving cool abilities depending on which runes they choose. On top of that, you are able to speak giant, and you gain proficiency with smith tools. You choose your runes at level 3 when you get this subclass. You start off with only 2 runes, but this number goes up to 5 by level 15. Each rune does something different depending on the type of giant you're stealing from. Fire giants make giant flaming chains, hill giants give you damage resistance, cloud giants let you move the target of an attack from one creature to another. There's some good variety here. On top of this, you can use a bonus action to use your Giant's Might ability. You grow one size up to size large, you get advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, and your weapon or unarmed strikes deal an additional 1d6 damage, because what hurts more than a fist? A really big fist. As you level up, you can impose disadvantage on enemy attack rolls, your size permanently increases by 3d4 inches, and you can start dealing an extra 1d8 damage over 1d6. Finally, you become such a big chungus that you can use each giant rune feature twice per short rest. Your Giant's Might damage increases to 1d10, your size increases to huge instead of large when you use this ability, and your reach increases by 5 feet. Okay, so I know I said the Arcane Archer was my favorite fighter subclass, but I lied. It's the Rune Knight. You start out as a one-trick pony, but as you level up, your sheer size will be so impressive that you can tell all bad guys to go fee-fi-fo fuck themselves. While the increase in size might not seem that impressive, I would like to draw your attention to the Dungeon Master's Guide, where it says that monster weapons deal more damage than normal weapons. For example, a normal greatsword deals 2d6 damage, but a fire giant's greatsword deals 6d6 damage, not because the giant, but because of the sheer size of the sword it's using. So, you could, as a Rune Knight, increase your size to huge, then swing about a sword that deals more than twice the damage of a normal greatsword. Pair this with your damage-dealing runes, and your damage output will start to rival the casters of the party. Just remember, if your giant's might lasts for more than a long rest, consult a doctor. Finally, in an effort to silence all the players screaming about mystics and psionics, we've got the Psi Warrior. Combining the power of the sword with the literal power of the mind, these legally distinct fantasy Jedi have some neat tricks up their sleeves. You start off with a pool of psychic energy dice, which is a pool of d6s equal to twice your proficiency bonus. These dice are the fuel for your psionic powers. As you level up, the dice grow up to d12s, and you can regain one psi dice per long rest as a bonus action, meaning that you can refuel your mind powers while in combat. Your totally not Jedi powers include moving objects with your mind, dealing extra force damage on weapon attacks, creating a force field to shield you. At level 7, you get even more powers, such as force push and force jump. At level 10, you gain resistance to psychic damage, and you can spend the psi dice to cure yourself of any fright or charm ability. At level 15, your bonus action creates a force field around you or your allies, giving them half cover for 1 minute. And finally, at level 18, you become a true master of the Force. You can cast telekinesis without components or a spell slot, and you can attack again as a bonus action while you're concentrating on the spell. The Psy Warrior is exactly what I said it was. It's a fantasy Jedi. But hey, Jedi are pretty cool, and if you want the Force to be with you, pick up the Psi Warrior. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you had a good time. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more D&D stuff in the future, and leave a comment down below for what kind of fighter you want to be. As always, my name is Paul Bunyan, and don't forget to have fun on your next adventure.